the People's Matter program. I'm Chelangat Diana, and our guest today is Helen Kipkosgei from Ilbra Counseling Center. And today we are going to look at loss and grief. Maybe you've lost something in your life, you've lost someone you love, and that is part of it. And now we are going to look at it deeply, so stay tuned. Welcome.
Thank you, Diana. I'm pleased to be back in the studio, and this time we are tackling loss and grief. And my viewers, I want to say that as you listen, look at yourself, look at maybe what you've gone through sometime. So we start by really understanding what is loss. Loss is a state of not having what you used to have. That is, if you had something before and then all of a sudden you don't have, that is what we call loss. And now we can define that loss into two. We can divide it into two. You can lose something which is physical. Yeah. Physical as in you can lose a person, you can lose a phone, you can lose even a house. And then another aspect of loss also is symbolic. It is not necessarily only those physical things, but symbolic loss. And this symbolic loss means you lose something which is not tangible, you cannot touch. And this is like a social interaction, a relationship, and even information. If you lose your phone, then you lose the information. The information is the part that which is really hurting the client.
We can categorize them, maybe we can say divorce, separation, and other things. Maybe you can take us deeply into that.
Yeah, so maybe Diana, before we go to that, let's also try to understand grief, because they go hand in hand to this. But there are many types of losses, and these losses could be like in the physical. You can lose a person through death, you can lose a house like through burn, fire. You can lose also some, even part of your body, you lose it. And that one really is so strong on the client, because you can imagine having one part of you not there.
Gone,
the leg
gone for good.
Gone for good. How do you adjust to this? So it is a great loss. Also, other people value things like pets, cats, dogs, depending on the communities we come from, and what they were doing to you.
And also maybe, part of it may be selling your property. You really love it, but now you have to let it go. You have to sell it for you to maybe get finances to do other things. And that is
that is also a loss, Diana. When you sell a property, especially that which you have some sentimental value to it, it's touching, and you have to go through this grieving, which we will define later. What does it mean? So you feel it is so hurting. And also developmental stages. Can imagine developmental stage. You are changing from childhood to adulthood. You are losing something. You are going from that youthful person to midlife crisis. That is why some people say, I'm in my this year, and they don't want to mention even their years, because they are afraid they have lost their time comparing to the stage where they are at that moment.
And even I think job loss, whereby your status has to be a bit different from what you are used to. Maybe losing, maybe you are a boss somewhere, and then suddenly you lose a job. Like recently, there was statistics that was done that in maybe banking industry, media, you find people lose their jobs, and there is that grief inside them for quite some time.
Yeah, there is this grief, because losing a job, it could be you are at your prime life. So you can imagine your children are not yet through to school, There is also the self-esteem which is affected. You meet your friends, you don't know what to say, and this person will really grieve and wonder, where will I start from? Yeah.
They even fear telling their families that I have lost the job.
Yeah, and even this can drive them, if they don't get the good support, it can drive them even to commit suicide. Others even suffer depression. Yeah.
So Helen, take us through the process
Yeah.
of grieving. I understand that there are steps.
Yeah, Diana, we would like to understand what is grief. Grief is the reaction which takes place in the body of a human being once you lose something. Yeah. So this comes, it affects you, it gets you, and then you go through some of these stages, which one is denial. Actually, the person refuses to acknowledge that it has
That
happened.
thing has happened to
Yeah,
him
if
or
it is
her.
the loss of a job, they refuse, and they may even dress every day. It's like they are going to place of
job.
work, but they are just going to town and then back to their house for some time before they adjust. Also, like grief, I know loss in most cases, the strongest one which affects us is the loss of our loved ones. Death, through death. Yeah, this one really, as we talk even today, it is around there that most of these steps come to the people. So the first step is denial, that is where you refuse to acknowledge. The second step is that despair, which you are yearning for something. It's like, yeah, what has happened? You are yearning, you are longing for something to fill this step as you are struggling to accept.
Sure.
Yeah, so the client here refuses to acknowledge, completely in denial, and then in despair, they are numb. It's like their feelings are not there. They are dead. They are numb. They are in shock, complete shock. And some people even can be told very sad news like, oh, there is an accident which has happened and your son was in it, God forbid, whoever son that is. And someone, it's like they have not heard.
Yeah, I have seen people like, okay, they are told bad news. You expect them to start crying. You expect them to scream. But you find it's like they are composed. It's as if nothing has happened.
Yeah.
What happened to such kind of people?
Yeah, because their feelings have not yet come to realization. They have not felt it inside them. It's like they have combined denial and this shock. They are not comprehending what it is. Yeah, so sometimes it will now take them a while before they ask, and who are you talking about? My son? No. That is when they now refuse. So from there, Diana, they will move to a stage where there is a growing awareness. It's like, na kweli, has it happened? Yeah. So it's like they are now getting the awareness. And from there now, the depression sets in. This depression, if not dealt with properly, even a patient may be hospitalized during this moment because they are so low, their moods are so low, they can even withdraw, they don't want to be with people. And then once they also accept, it's now they come to reach that stage where they say, okay, yes, everybody is telling me, I've visited the scene, maybe what happened, and right now, yeah, I can accept. During this moment of depression, if you reach in that home, there is a lot of disorganization. They need people to assist them during this moment. Yeah.
So like during that process of trying to recover from loss, you find people make decisions maybe which can cost them. You make just a decision for you to satisfy something, the emptiness inside you. Maybe you can tell us what people can run to for them to feel like, oh, this has not happened, or I am healing.
So maybe there are many things people can run to, like even alcohol and drugs. They can even run to a relationship which does not mean anything, just to hide their real feelings of what
Maybe
they are
after
going.
breakup.
After breakup,
Divorce.
divorce, they can make decisions. They can even sell property of which they will regret later. They can even change towns. They can even resign from place of work because they are afraid to face the community. You know, when a divorce happens, it's like you ask yourself, what did I do which made me this guy to divorce me or this lady to divorce me? So they go through shame and they are not able to cope with it if they don't get the right support. So finally, in the stages, Diana, we have acceptance. The fifth stage. After depression, we come to acceptance. Now, the affected, they learn to accept. Yes, it has happened. Yes, but there is nothing we can do. Yes, there is nothing we can change much. And now they can sit to plan the way forward without that loss. Maybe if it was a loss of a car, and you have been driving for a long time, you start saying, how do I reach place of work? And some, if they have money, can maybe hire taxis. Some, they find it so difficult to take a mat, but in the end, they will do it. So, but if it is a loss of a person through death, this is the time now they start saying, I think we need to finalize the rites of burial, and they move on.
Do you think healing process, it varies, does it vary from one individual to the other? Because I think acceptance is also a process on its own. So do you think that it varies, and how long should it take?
Okay, acceptance really varies according to people, because people have different personalities. There are those people who can accept and move on quickly. There are those who even have friendships here which can support them. There are those who have even their religious values, and for Christians, if it is death, they say, okay, we know he has slept and we will meet again. And so that eases their pain. It also depends, Diana, the healing process depends on what was the mode of death. It could be it was suicidal. If it was suicidal, someone chose to die. It's like in most communities, they accept that one so fast, and even they bury very fast. And it could have been an instant, an accident. That one, it leaves people not knowing what to do. And so healing can just take long, because someone would say, okay, we wish even he was sick so that we would see him for some time until we accept.
Why do you think people accept suicide? That because I think suicide is a case whereby you can be left asking yourself so many questions as to why this person decided to end his or her life. Why do you think it can be accepted so that fast?
Okay, in most cases you find they will accept he chose it, although it was under some depressing or a situation which was not of his choice. He had reached somewhere where nobody helped him, but people will just accept it and move on with it so fast. So otherwise, other issues also which can aid in healing is the closeness of whatever you lost. Whoever, like for death, the closeness, was it a child, was it a spouse, and was it through sickness, and that closeness of the person, whoever the person was.
So it is the significance of the loss.
The significance of the loss.
Our viewers, we are going for a short break, and when we come back, we are going to continue with our discussion.